everyone, welcome back to Adobe Live Pro Tips. My name is Cyn Lagos, and today we're going to continue to explore Adobe Photoshop. We've had a really wonderful week exploring all the ins and outs of Adobe Photoshop, and today we're going to have some really cool methods for us to explore how we can really speed up our workflows, right? We all want that. We all want more time to make our coffees, to watch our TV shows, all the works, right? So today I'm going to explore some of my favorite tools that I feel like really enhance and speed up my workflow. So let's get started here and jump on Adobe Photoshop. All right, so already I'm going to just open up my cursor here. Always forget that part. All right, okay. Already we're in Adobe Photoshop, and this is one of my drone shots from San Francisco. San Francisco is so photogenic. It's so easy to just capture it from any angle. In this case, we had this kind of just a blank canvas for a sky, and I thought maybe I can make it a little bit more of a wow factor and replace the sky. Now, there's a few methods to doing this, but we're going to be exploring this particular one because I find it to be really, really helpful. It's a very focused sky replacement. Now, alternatively, you can select the sky. You can choose so many different ways to separate the sky from your subject matter. But in this case, it's going to do it for us. We're here to explore quick actions and save ourselves some time. So I'm going to go here into quick actions, and actually I decided to load a scene of my own, but it already has some pre-selected background skies for us to consider. So you can start to see how easily it blends everything together. I mean, it looks like it would have been a nice, cloudy, happy sky. It all is in the effort of emulating a different scene, if in case, you know, you had the right exposure. In my case, I had a perfectly blue sky. Hi, my cat wants to say hello here. Hey, miss. Come here. It's the last day of streaming, so she wanted to say hello. Okay, so in my case, I find this to be really useful whenever I have like a blown out sky, something that I can't really recover, and I still wanted to expose my foreground correctly. So I can say, I'm going to step into post-production and try to replace that sky with something a little bit more interesting, since I wanted to take a little bit more care of my foreground, all the detail here on my subject matter. So you still have a chance to replace that sky in post-production. And you have some really cool ones here. I really like some of these very smooth. I don't know what the name of the clouds are, but there are some people who do, and I'm just like in awe. But I love it when it's like this. Now, there's another option that we can do here. You can actually upload your own image by pressing that plus sign. So you can upload your own library or your own category of scenes. So I have my files here opened. Let's see which one I want to explore. So let's say I open up one of these. This scene here of Joshua Tree that also includes a sky. Now, it's important that it includes a sky or it will reject it and won't consider it as a viable option. So this one has the sky and a few trees. So it kind of looks like this very sci-fi scene with the gigantic Joshua Tree trees in the background of San Francisco's landscape. Hey, this could totally be part of it. We're still in California. I think this is a pretty good fit. And so that seamlessly, it incorporates a new sky scene for us. And of course, we can modify the temperatures and things of that nature to start to blend in this layer with our foundational layer. And we can actually just press OK in this case. And we can see here, let's remove that. And we can see here what happens when we say OK. We have a really wonderful set of workable files so that we can always indicate a new change or undo any step of the way and modify any of the elements that we want to still have control over. And that's really important because we are the pilots in this entire scenario. So it's really important to have options. So if I wanted to increase or decrease the contrast, I have a chance to do that separately from all the other files. If I want to modify this mask, because you can see here some of the things are kind of a little bit more visible, and if I want to modify it to my own taste, I can actually still do that. I have a chance to do that. By the way, I'm hitting Option or Alt on PC to click and isolate any of these elements, maybe something like this. I use this all the time just to find my place in Photoshop. Cool. So that was a really cool one. You can use it. Again, it's so quick. We're probably going to have spare time in this stream to, chat and get to know each other. So now let's move into another scene. So for example, in this case, whenever I have a portrait, in this case, I did an excuse me, an in camera crop, where I decided to do a sort of 4:5 ratio here. And I had a kind of quick moment to just ask someone. I met her that day. It was a total stranger. And I decided to ask her, hey, can I take your portrait? And I found this background. Now, this background, I'm happy with it. But if you wanted to modify your backgrounds, there's really quick, easy ways to select and really separate your files, your subject matter from your backgrounds. Now, there's a couple ways of doing that. One of my favorite ways of doing it is using the object selection tool. Now, it gives you a little bit of a preview of what it can do for you, right? So when it comes to object selections, it's so accurate. It's honestly really amazing. Now, there's a few pro tips to consider here whenever you're selecting an item. Go up here into the drop down section, and you're going to see that it gives you these two options. Device quicker results, cloud detailed results. Now, I might want to actually explore the cloud results when I have more time, because the cloud results tend to be more detailed in terms of things like hair and those kinds of selections. So if you want to have that precise masking result, you want to choose cloud. If you want a super quick result, like in this case, I might want to use device. All right, so now that I've selected my subject, you can just see how easily it goes over that. I can create a mask. Now I'm going to create a mask by pressing this icon here, and that's going to select a positive mask, where the plus, the white is the areas that are visible, and the black is the areas that are invisible, right? So now if I want to do this the other way, you can also undo that and hold Alt or Option and create a negative mask. So now you have your background available. So how about we do one of, we can do both, right? So we're going to drag this over to the plus sign or Command J to duplicate. And I'm going to do a negative mask on this layer. So now this is our BG layer. It's our background layer, right? I did one more step there. BG layer. Cool. So now that's our background layer. And this is going to be our foreground layer. We just have to command to make that selection one more time and hit Option or Alt. There you go. Now we have our selection of our subject. Now I want to actually fill this area right here with some of the contextual texture around this background. So I'm just going to select more or less this area. I'm going to do this a little bit more precisely with the lasso tool. And even then, I'm not being too precise. I'm just going to do a bit of a contour here just to select this area. Okay, great. So now that we have this and we have our thumbnail, our actual layer artwork selected, I'm going to right click and go into Content Aware Fill. And Content Aware Fill is already placed into auto, which means it's going to select areas around it to modify that space. All right, so those areas are the ones that I want modified. Cool. So it's going to begin to change. Did I do the other side? I think I did. Let's see. I want to output to a new layer. And let's see if I think I selected it backwards. Let's see what that was about. Yeah, yes, I did. All right. So let's do this one more time here. Let's rasterize this layer real quick. Convert to smart object. That would work. Okay. So now content aware fill. There you are, rasterize layer. And then content aware fill. There you are. There we go. Quick troubleshooting there. And you can see how it's adapting some of the textures that are selected here on the green area and giving you an option to fill that space. So you don't have to go in there and quick stamp anything for hours and hours, which potentially won't take that many hours because it is a fairly small selection. But nevertheless, this is a better option for you to just let Photoshop figure out the content aware fill of that particular area. And now we have our foreground and our background separated. So if I wanted to go in here, I'm going to match these. So now that's our background. If I wanted to go in here and fill it, like blur it, do some blur effects to this area, then I can actually do that. Here, let's do some Gaussian blur and create a little bit more, or imitate a little bit more of that focal lens depth. Gaussian blur tends to emulate that fairly well. And I love that now she has this standout element from the background, even though she was standing fairly close to it, which in retrospect, I wish I could have asked her to step forward. We can do some auto-correcting in post-production to remedy that. So that's really, really cool. We were able to select our subject. We were able to separate our background and fill it with content aware fill. Super cool. All right, let's move on to the next image. So now in this image, really, really awesome here. We have the contextual bar, which gives us really quick options for us to edit, to select our subject. And you can see the contextual bar is modular. So it's often changing depending on which step of your creation you're in. And this one has been making a lot of buzz lately because it's in the contextual bar, where you're going to find the generative fill, which is a brand new AI-driven tool, which I hope you're checking out already in the Adobe beta. You will also find that in the contextual bar. So in this case, I don't want to go in here. I'm going to show you a different option to consider whenever you're thinking about quick actions. So you'll notice here we have quick actions in the right-hand side in the properties panel. So as soon as I rasterize this image, sorry, I didn't rasterize it, I unlocked it. You will find these options available. And I'm going to click the View More option. And this is going to bring up our Discover panel. Now, if you don't see the Discover panel here, and that was one too many steps for your liking, you can always go into the Help and just type in Discover, and it will give you that option too. Okay, the Help or the Search, whenever you are ready to find something, but you're like, okay, I have a deadline. I need to find it right away. Just go into that search. All right, add lens, okay, no. All right, we're going to do a couple things to this image. First and foremost, I'm going to make the background black and white. I think there's a lot of orange hues going on. I want his colors to be the standout element. And there's a particular narrative here. He's holding an original film camera. I don't remember the name of it, but he took a photo of me. I still have it to this day. This is in New York City, and it's a working camera. And I just loved, I asked him, can I take a picture of you now that you've taken a picture of me? So I think it's pretty suitable that we make that background black and white to help him stand out. And it kind of gives that homage to a bit of nostalgia when it comes to film, right? Once upon a time, every photo used to be black and white. So let's do a nice little merging of the past and the future here in this image. And I don't know, did you blink? It happened like just in a second, right? Did you notice that while we were just talking? So that's really cool. It creates a smart object, so a smart filter in this case, and we can always double click that smart filter and modify it to our liking. So let's say in case I want to create more of a blue filter, something a little bit more contrasted. Black and white does not come in a single package. It has so many different variations if you really wanted to play with or have more control. I always love being able to make these small modifications that make a photo something of my own. And of course, these are also presets, so you can actually come in here and modify these images a little bit more with the levels. And I think that looks pretty cool. And I hit OK, and that is modifiable to the end of time until you choose to compress it into a JPEG. For now, we have a pretty cool working file in case we want to modify it in the future. I'm going to select that bottom foundational layer again, and I'm going to go into another quick action, which is, I think, is pretty fitting for this image as well. So we're going to go into this section here. It says add lens flare. I'm going to press it, and in a matter of seconds, it added a bit of a lens flare here. But I think in this case, it's not in the right position. So I'm actually going to double click here. All right, so again, we have a smart filter. Anything smart means we can always adapt it to our liking. We can always modify it. So here we have a preview of the positioning of the lens flare. So we can always move it. You won't see it out here at the moment, but you will see it here in the tiny thumbnail, and you'll see it kind of represented here as you move it. We have a few options. We have 50 to 300. We have this other one here, kind of looks like a burst. So this is based on different lenses that would create this emulation whenever you focus it on a light source. So we have this movie prime, which creates these kind of cool lines across it, which I think if I was to do that, I don't want it to be right on his face. I think I like this one here. That was kind of cool. And you can always kind of reduce the sizing a little bit. You see that one or this one? Yeah, I think I like that one. All right, press OK. And that creates this really cool flash effect. And as we learned yesterday, we can always modify that, create separate layers, and potentially animate this. So if you didn't get a chance to join us on yesterday's live stream, we explored the timeline in Photoshop. So you're welcome to watch the restream to learn how to animate some of these layers, because I can already see this being developed into something like that. All right, so that was a really cool, quick edit of this image. Let's try to do this one. This one's a little bit more complex, but let's go for it, right? This is a quick action effect. We're gonna go into filters, and we're gonna go into this new effect, neural filters. And I'm gonna go into this section. Let's see. Right, so we're gonna remove this from view for the moment. All right. So we're going to go into neural filters. We have so many options here that are quite immediate. In this case, I'm going to focus onto the landscape mixer. Now, the landscape mixer potentially will need a little help. I'm going to go in here and see all of these different options. So this is on our way to Joshua Tree. This is in California. So this is a pretty cool kind of POV of these wonderful mountains in California. So what if I wanted to change those mountains to something different? So I'm going to hit on here. Now, when you get access to this, you're going to have to download each of these. And this is, whoa, this is wild, right? So you can see it created the effect globally and into the entire scene. I really like this area. I mean, it changed it completely. And if I was to change it to something like this, it changed it once again. Now I feel like I'm in one of those like post-apocalyptic movies. Really cool. But let's stick with maybe this one, reduce the strength a little bit. Maybe it's not too intense. And I'm going to press OK. Actually, I forgot to make one step, but let's go in here again. Let's see. Command J on this because I want to duplicate it. Filter, neural filter. And it remembers, you notice what happened there? It remembers the last filter I used. So Shift Command F to add that effect that we just created. And I just wanted to show you this, that you can apply that effect to a current layer, to a new layer, or a smart filter, which in this case, I want a smart filter because I always want to modify things, okay? So I'm going to place this layer at the top right here. And I'm going to go into, again, my quick selection tool, and I'm going to ask it to be, to select different elements here. So I want to select this, and I also want to select this here. Let's see how fast I can make this happen. Maybe we do try to do a cloud edit selection. Let's do something like this. Yeah, there you go. Now that is working for me. Okay, sweet. And you can see other areas are a little bit easier to select, but this is a little bit more precise with the cloud, the full selection made even in pieces. So let's add that mask that we just learned about, negative mask versus positive mask. So I'm going to add a positive mask where the whites are visible on the car. So now we have that effect being done. And if we wanted to change it to something different, a different scene altogether. Now, practically, this is where you get creative, where you think, hey, how can I play with this? Is this a scene that I'm trying to use to pitch to a bigger concept? Like, let's go to this place during the season, but you need to have this on your deck. This is me running in my ideas of how I would practically use it in my workflow. There's so many cool effects. It's kind of amazing how immediate those effects tend to be and how quickly you can modify it. Of course, you can do other things like modify how, what time of day it is. Is it night? Is it sunset? I think that's pretty cool how we can explore that. And a little bit goes a long way. So let's select the option here, Smart Filter, hit OK. That is amazing that we can do that at all. It's like we went from that to that. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's see if we can squeeze in one last one here before we head out. All right, so I'm gonna go into Neuro Filters one more time here. And in this case, I am a photographer. I love being able to adapt my photos to previous color palettes that I've had in the past. So I'm going to do this color transfer. Again, this one's in beta, so there's a lot of developments happening and behind the scenes. Really, really talented folks developing Photoshop as we speak. So we're going to go in here and test out some of these colors that are placed here. I'm actually going to go into RGB mode and let's see how these colors get adapted. So you can see it's processing on my device, and even then it was so fast. It's wonderful. So I'm going to go into this particular button here and go to custom. And this is where it gets kind of cool because I can actually select a file of my own. So I can select an image, a previously edited image, and it starts to adapt some of those color hues. Now, this is why I think it's good to always have a foundational image in case you want to lower the opacity of those elements. So let's select another image here. I might select something like, let's see, let's bring it over to here. One of my edited images. I love all these images. So many cool images to pick from. Maybe something like this, something that has like a lot of color, right? Let's see what happens when we select this image. And you can see how the color hues get adapted. And you can, of course, modify the saturation, the brightness, and of course, be sure to let the programmers know if you're satisfied with the results, what can improve. If you're not satisfied, that will also be great feedback for them to learn how to improve upon it. And again, it's a smart filter, so we can always modify it. So hopefully this has been a wonderful set of examples throughout all of this week. We've explored so many cool concepts here in Photoshop to be able to really do some really magical post productions by generating some wonderful post editing workflows and also even animating. So if you didn't get a chance to check out some of those streams, definitely keep up with us on YouTube. But if you are a little bit closer to home, I always love posting all the stream sets here on my website, so you can find past pro streams, pro tip streams that I've hosted. And I really appreciate you being here. This has been a wonderful time. And those of you who support me online, gosh, big digital hug from afar. And again, my name is Cyn Lagos, and I'll see you on the other side.